Bitte.
During my last trip to Rome, I have collected a ton of receipts from coffee bars, restaurants, craft supply stores, of course. And today I want to show you what you can create with these kind of unspectacular pieces of paper. We are going to create a crumpled masterboard today, using these little guys, of course, some coffee, a photo of a coffee, and some other bits and pieces that we've either collected during the vacation or that are laying around on our desk. Later on, I'm going to create a card from that masterboard for my travel journaling box, which you can see here. But of course, you can transfer this idea to any other kind of journaling box, or whatever you are working on at the moment. You could also make a loose card with this idea, of course. So open your wallets, take out your receipts, and let's create something really cool together today. Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Thanks for joining me today. First of all, if you have missed the other videos about this box, please check out the info box. There's a whole playlist about how this box came to life. And there you can find videos on how I made, for example, these little guys here. So if you want to check that out and get some ideas for your next vacation, then you can perhaps find some inspiration with those videos. But of course, you can also transfer all of these ideas to any other kind of journal that doesn't have to be travel themed. Yeah, you can also do that, you know, with other themes, butterflies, birds, or whatever you like. And today I want to show you something, and also show something that I found out yesterday, and that is something that I think is really exciting with this kind of paper. As you perhaps know, the most of these receipts are printed on thermal paper. That means we have some kind of a little problem if we want to keep these in a journal, because with the time, and especially with light and heat, these receipts can be destroyed, and it can happen that the writing here fades out so that the paper gets white, or with heat the paper can get black. So if you have this and you live, for example, in a very hot area, or you put your journal or your project into the sun, then the following thing could happen. Before I demonstrate what happens with heat, I want to mention something that is important for you if you want to do that at home as well. Please make sure that you have a paper which you can heat up without any health problems. Yeah, you have to make sure that these papers can be heated up with a heat tool, for example. If you're not sure, then please just leave the step with the heat and just do the other things that I show you in this video. I will give you alternatives in this video that can be done without heat, yeah, because some of these papers, you know, they have these information here on the back. Some of those are a little bit like, you know, a problem if you use them with heat, because they get this, like, oh, how can I say that in English? This like smell, and that's not so good for your health. But yeah, you know, check that out before you do that. But as I said, you can also do that without heat. But if such a paper gets in contact with heat, because it's thermal paper, the following thing happens. The paper is going to become black. And that's, of course, not so nice. Even if you can read a tiny little bit of the writing here, this is not what we want to have as a memory of a vacation or a special day or something like that. There have been some questions about what I do if a paper has already gotten black like this, and I want to quickly show you what you can do, or what you can do on purpose if you want to use heat and have this paper as a memory for your journal or for your journaling box or something like that, because there's a really cool way how you can use this effect with the black on purpose. For that, you're going to need a white pen. I'm going to use this Posca pen in white. And let's just take a fresh paper. Let's say we have this, and we want to keep this even if we know that it gets black with the time, or we want to make it black with heat on purpose. By the way, that would also work with those tickets from the buses. Is that a word? I guess. Because these are often printed on thermal paper as well. So let's take both of these. You can do really cool things, because if you take this white pen, you could make any kind of pattern that you like, or you could also write something, which you can, of course, not read so well when it's white, yeah, but wait a second, please. So you can do what you want. You could even draw something on here. Let's make a little flower. That can also be, of course, something that has to do with your vacation. You could also write like a little tiny diary or something like that on those papers. And then you can just take your heat tool and make this black on purpose just by heating it up. And that way the paper will get black, but you will see magic what you have written before. This is something that I like to do if I, don't want to make a copy of these papers or the tickets. That is paper as well, Louisa. If I don't want to make a copy of the receipts or the tickets, that was what I was trying to say. I think I have a day today where I can't speak. I don't know what that is, but hopefully you understand what I mean. So when this is black, then it looks like this, and you can then see what you have written or drawn before. And I think that is a really cool thing, even if this is really simple, yeah, but this is only an example. But this is a way you could use these papers. I mean, you can't read what was printed here before anymore, but for me that's not so important, because this is a paper that I had collected during the vacation, and this paper is important to me no matter if I can still read what's on there or not. But if you don't want to have this completely black, there's another thing that you could do, and that's what I want to show you now. I'm going to take a little bit, some kind of a thicker paper. This is just some regular, paper. You could use what you have. You could also use some ugly scrapbooking paper or something like that, or just packaging paper, whatever you have, because we just need a surface where we can glue the receipts on now. And I'm going to use a glue stick. That doesn't have to be a really strong glue for this step, because I'm going to make a copy of this later, and I just want to have something where I can like stick the receipts to, just for the moment that I need to bring that to my scanner. And I'm crumpling these papers up because that gives a really nice texture in this step and a really cool look when we make the copy. So if you are not familiar with masterboards and how those are like normally done, I'm doing it like this because what is normal? We are making junk journals, yeah? There are no rules. But normally a masterboard is nothing else than a collage on a piece of paper, which you then later on copy, and then you cut it and make, for example, tags or journaling cards or tickets or whatever out of that. You can cut it into the size of your choice and then make what you want out of that. Normally you take like flat pieces of paper, not such a mess like this. But I thought, why don't we try something different and do it like this? Some people use the original piece, the original masterboard, for cutting it. Would be really difficult with this because we've only used glue stick, and this is not meant to be glued permanently. Yeah, so I want to have this just in place so that I don't have any trouble for making the copy. You could also take these crumpled pieces and put them directly to your scanner. That would also be a possibility. Could also look nice, but I want to add some coffee in a second, and that could be a problem. I mean, you don't want to throw this to your scanner and then put the coffee on top. Please don't do that. So that's the only reason why I'm doing it like this. And of course, what you also could do is you could take this to your sewing machine additionally and sew over that. Shall we do that? I mean, that sounds like a really good idea, doesn't it? And that would give us a little bit more interest as well. Tips are not included. Interesting. Has to be yellow so that everyone can see it. This paper is DIN A4, so this will fit perfectly to my scanner later. If you are using US letter sized paper, then of course that is also possible, but I would suggest to take a piece of paper that fits perfectly to your scanner. Yeah, so then later on you have more possibilities what you want to do and how to cut it. It's easier to scan and make a copy of that. So I will quickly go to my sewing machine and sew a little bit over this, because I think that could give us a really nice additional look. That was not so easy. Perhaps, I mean, if you don't have a really good sewing machine, perhaps it's a good idea to just skip this step. It was really hard, even if I have done like a really wide zigzag stitch here. It was not so easy. I've stopped here because, you know, this is in the way. It's really hard to sew over that. My sewing machine could handle this, but it's a little bit annoying. You have to press all of this down while you are sewing. I can't recommend that. Don't do that. Just save your time and your nerves. Just don't do it. But what I want to do is I want to take some coffee powder. So this is just some instant coffee. I mean, it shall become something like coffee if you mix this with water. And I'm just going to take some of this out, put it here. That doesn't have to be much. And then I'm mixing that with some water. I'm just realizing that you can't see anything. I'm really sorry. I think now it's better. Just spritz some water to this. Of course, you could also use a coffee from your coffee machine, or you could also use, you know, this like thing what you put to your trash can if you have made a coffee. Do you know what I mean? This material that falls out after you have made the coffee. But for me, this is easy because I can always have this little jar of instant coffee on my desk, and I use this relatively often, so it's really handy to always have some of this on my desk. And I'm going to use coffee today because my focal point later for my card shall be a coffee cup, and that's a special coffee cup. You will see that in a second. So I want to have a connection not only with the colors to my focal point, but also, you know, with the whole story around. So I'm going to throw this on here, and we definitely need more water. It's not liquid enough because I want to have a lot of coffee on here. And yesterday I also found out something that is really cool with this thermal paper, and I haven't experienced that before, and I even don't know if it's working with every thermal paper that you might have, but with this one that I have here, it's working. Perhaps you want to try that out. If you throw coffee to such a thermal paper, there happens something, and I can't explain that. I'm not a chemist, yeah? But the coffee seems to protect the thermal paper, and on those spots where the coffee is, the thermal paper stays in its original condition, but it's brown, of course, from the coffee, but it doesn't get black. And that's a really, really cool thing. So I will show you that in a second. I'm just wondering why I have taken such a small paintbrush. Please take a bigger paintbrush, then it's easier to apply this. And you can, of course, splatter as much as you want. And when I have that, I'm going to take my heat tool again. As I said, if you are not sure if you can use a heat tool with the thermal paper that you have, just leave this step out. Just let this air dry so that you don't need your heat tool. And when it's dry, you can just apply some, for example, black acrylic paint or some black watercolor paint. You could also imitate this black look with some inks. Black soot, distress ink, for example, would work. This could also be done with hickory smoke oxide ink, I would say. This is relatively close. This, what I have here on the ticket, is close to black soot oxide ink, or you could use whatever black thing you have or like, and it also doesn't have to be black, yeah. But if you want to stay close to what I have here in the video, you could use these mediums to reach that. And now I'm going to heat this up. The goal is to make some of the areas of this paper black with the help of the heat, but you will see that there where the coffee is, the paper stays like it was before, and that is really, really cool. And of course, you can do this as extremely as you want. You can just wait a little second, just move the heat tool away from the paper and see how black it gets, and if you already like it, then leave it. So let's perhaps make it a little bit more black on this side and leave it more white on this side. I think this looks already really, really good. And as you can hopefully see, here where the coffee is, and this is completely dry here now, the paper is still in its original condition. That is really strange, because I always thought when I heat the paper up, then it gets black. Yeah, but the coffee seems to protect the paper in some way. Here, for example, you can still read what was written here. And that is a little bit amazing. I don't know what will happen with the time, if this will fade out or if it will get black. But when I go over this with my heat gun again, let's do that, and heat it up there where the coffee is, it's not impacting the paper. And that is really, really interesting. And that could be something that could be helpful for other projects as well, next to those cool effects that we get here now with the coffee and the black. I think that looks really, really interesting. So now I will take this and put that to my scanner to make a copy. So here we go. I'm back with my copies, and as you perhaps can see at first glance, this looks really, really different. Perhaps if you have never made something like this, or like a normal masterboard, then you might wonder why this looks so different than the original piece. I want to say 1 or 2 sentences about that, so that you can consider perhaps different possibilities how you could make a copy of your original masterboard. I was aware of this change of the colors. I like this copied look of the original piece, but if you want to avoid that, and if you want to come closer to the original colors, then you could consider to make a photo instead of a copy with your scanner. Because with a photo, you would probably get more the original colors, and also the texture would look different on a photo than on a copy, like you can see here on the left. The other thing is, if you have a scanner and you want to scan the original piece, then you could use a program like Photoshop, for example, or a free program like Canva, canva.com. You can visit that page and you can use also that as a free tool to manipulate your photos and set the settings in a way that it looks more like the reality. That would be a possibility. But as I said, I like this copied look. And that is for me, the special thing about a masterboard, that we have this copy and also the effect of a copy. I have printed this out twice. This one, what you can see here on the top, is made on or printed on normal copy paper, just regular thin copy paper. And the second one that I've made, this one here, is printed on a little bit thicker paper, and this is photo paper. So as you can see, there's a really, really big difference. And what this also shows, that is nothing that has to do with this project, but that's something that you perhaps might think about in general. If you, for example, buy a digital printable paper pack, then don't use normal copy paper, because look, it's worth it to invest in a little bit more high quality paper like matte photo paper. That way you can get a way better result. If you look at the contrast here, that is a really big difference. Then here, this is way more like a natural look. It's not like a photo, because look, if I take this original piece and put it next to the high quality paper, it's not the same anyway, but it's closer to this, and the contrast and the colors look way better. This looks like it is in some kind of a grayish fog or something like that. It looks really weird. So as you can guess, I will use this piece of paper today for making the card. And another piece, I'm sorry, another point that I would like to talk about really quickly is, if you have something really bulky like this and you want to put that to your scanner, then you might have problems with the result, because here, for example, you can see that it's relatively blurry in some areas. That's because of the bulk, and the scanner can't get a sharp result when you have so many different levels on your original piece. So the trick is really easy. Take your piece that you want to scan in, turn that to your turn that upside down, put it to your scanner glass, close the lid of the scanner, and then just carefully press the lid down. Or is lid the right word? I mean, this, this thing that comes down. Or you can also put some books on top, so that the thing is pressing this whole thing down a little bit more, so that the whole thing is closer to the scanner glass, and then you can get a way more clear result, and it's not so blurry anymore. You could also put this under some heavy books overnight, make it flat, and then put it to your scanner if you don't want to press or put something on your scanner. Be careful with that. Don't ruin your scanner, but it is no problem to press a little bit so that this gets a little bit flatter, and then you get a better result. Okay, so let's put this away and use that for another project where we need some blurry and grayish collage fodder. And the rest of my coffee here, I want to use to throw onto this paper now, because what we got here from the copy is, of course, not the same color like this was on the original piece. And I'm hoping that when I use this, that I then can get like more of this original coffee color. It's not so important that I have the original color, otherwise I would have used Photoshop to manipulate this paper. But I want to have a little variation here. So let's next take the box If you don't have such a box, you take your journal now or just do it freestyle. And I'm just measuring how wide the card can be. That is 10.7 centimeters. And then let's try to decide, while remembering this measurement, which part of this we want to use as the front. I think I want to go with this more lighter and more busy part. Well, let's see. Let's just take this measurement, and I will leave this white frame here because for me that also is part of this copied style, if that makes sense. Yeah, as I said, I enjoy using those copies when I make a masterboard and this copied look. And of course you can cut that off, but for me it belongs to this piece, even if it's also here a little bit wonky. It's not everywhere the same width of this frame, but for me that doesn't matter. So when we have this, then this could be the front, or the other side could be the front. But first of all, I want to get rid of this here, and I don't want to cut this off completely because, as you could see, I have just folded this, meaning I have this folded and colored edge here, and I want to have that on the other side here as well. So I'm going to take this whole thing, turn that around, and just fold this until I meet this edge there, just for orientation. And then I'm going to take this and fold that to the inside, so that when I close it now, I have this folded and colored edge here as well, same here. Yeah, so if you don't want to waste this inner part here, of course we don't want to waste that, we can use that for something else. We can just cut that off here. Just leave a tiny little bit that you can glue on in a second. You don't need more than, you know, a centimeter or so, just a little bit. Then I'm going to take my glue stick. If you don't want to sew your card, I will take this to my sewing machine in a second, but if you don't have a sewing machine or you don't want to sew, then please use a stronger glue. I'm just doing this to make my life a little bit easier and hold this together. And then we can decide if we want to use it like this, like this, like this, or like this. As you can see, there are many options. Perhaps the easiest way is that we first look at the focal point that we want to add here. And for me, that is today this photo of this special coffee cup. I have had a coffee in Rome, and I came to the idea to take the spoon and make a little painting inside of the nearly empty coffee cup. So you can see me doing that here. I've recorded that for you so that you can take that as an inspiration for your own holiday, of course. Please feel free to steal this idea. Saying stealing, of course, I couldn't take the coffee cup with me. Yeah, so that would have been nice, but you know, that's of course not possible. But you can take a photo, of course, if you have made something like that, and then you can take the photo later on for your journaling card or for your junk journal page or whatever. And I hope that it is an inspiration for you. So yeah, do what you want with this idea, but please let me know if you have done something like that. That would be really, really interesting if you liked it. And if you have done it by yourself, then please share some photos or something like that, or a video. That would be really cool. So I want to take this photo here, and of course I have to cut that down a little bit more, but perhaps we can get an imagination of the position. And with that, we can perhaps decide if we want to use this side or this side, and I think that is really clear. Cook. I'm so sorry. Look, cook is German. That was a really quick German lesson. This is really busy, but I like it. It's really, really cool. Here is a little bit of sewing on the bottom. If we use it like that, I think that's cool. And this here, can you see that? Here's a color that we don't have in the other areas here. So I think that's a good idea to do it like so. Then we can see this special piece there. So the first thing that I'm going to do now is I take this to my sewing machine and I will first sew around here completely, and then I will cut this photo a little bit smaller so that it fits to this card. Okay, so here we go. I've just went around with a running stitch, 2 rounds. What is this? And then I've done some really crazy zigzag stitching here, also a little bit like forth and back so that it gets a little bit more visible. And I've taken this coffee brown thread. I think that fits the colors really well. And before I can go on, I have to cut this off, otherwise it drives me crazy. I mean, I love long threads, but this is perhaps a little bit too much. Okay, here we go. And then I have cut this down. Perhaps you might wonder why I have cut off so much, because now it's a little bit, not a little bit, it's way smaller than this card is. But my idea is to put that here to the left and then layer some other things below so that we can get a really like irregular look of this. And I think that you can still see that this is a coffee cup. It doesn't have to be the full cup to be recognizable as a coffee cup. But I want to do another thing before, or shall we first? No, I will do that now. I'm sorry. I will take this little guy here. You could also take a regular hole punch, and I want to go around this here by doing it like this, because I want to make a whole frame with these holes. That could look really great. And I think this here is really great collage fodder. I think perhaps I should send this to Barbara at 49 Dragonflies to use during December 2023. Barbara, what do you think? Yeah, you've heard right. December 2023 is like really close. I know it's August, but it's really close. Yeah, it is. So, is this correct? Yes. So this goes on here like so. And of course, if you have made something like this, no matter if you have this long hole or just a round hole, you could take a thread or a ribbon or something like that and fiddle that through here. That could look also really amazing. Perhaps we can do that during December, because today I don't want to do that here because I like it as it is. But what I want to do is I want to distress the edges a tiny little bit, and perhaps I should say ink the edges, because I don't want to, yeah, distress them with scissors or a distressing tool or something like that. But I just want to use some ink to make this a tiny little bit dirty, but at the same time I want to leave the most of the white frame, just like that. And I'm going to do that with the photo as well. I will carefully go around here so that it later on comes out a little bit more. Then it looks like this. And now I think I want to put something below here that is also perhaps white, but a little bit more colorful as well. So let's see what we have laying around here, because today I want to use really the things that are here on my desk that I have left over or that I have collected during the trip. Sometimes I need that. Sometimes here are really weird things laying around and I need to use those. Otherwise, it drives me crazy. I have this little strange paper here. I have made that during a Tim Holtz live video. I mean, this is nothing, yeah? It's just some, you know, playing around and trying out different things here. For example, I've tried to layer the glaze over each other with a stamp. Medium good idea. Works not so well. It was really, killed my nerves a little bit. But I'm just thinking, Igittigit. That is also German. Igittigit. That means that looks really ugly. I mean, those circles, that is nothing that I want to have there. But what about this? Let me just take my paper trimmer and let's just trim off a piece that would be wide enough to put that below the photo, but with a little frame. I really don't know what I shall think about those circles. On the one hand, I mean, ooh, what the heck is happening here now? When I had it in my hands like this, it looked really, really weird because my brain is trying to fulfill the image here, yeah, so that I see, or my brain sees, a full coffee cup, but it doesn't make sense with these circles here. That looks totally weird. If I turn it around, that is so crazy. My brain sees the top of the trees that I've tried to paint here. I mean, I don't know if you have realized that this shall be a little hill. I mean, that was there from the coffee. This part here looks like a hill or several different hills. And here in the foreground, there are some old buildings, relatively tiny. And these things here, especially here, those shall be trees. Yeah. So here are the stems of the trees, and these are the leaves of the trees. And now it looks like these are trees. Can you see that? That is totally weird. I mean, in a positive way weird. And I really don't know if I want to do it like this. What if I tear this here? Take this, just a tiny little piece of that here. Then we could trim it off here, that is long enough. Happy accident, coincidence, or whatever, like so. And if we then take this piece and put that behind here, I would think that this optical illusion is still working. What do you think? Another thing that I have laying around here is this. This is from my Abandoned Walls printable. You can find this set in my Etsy shop. I will link it down below for you. Originally, these are full pages, but I've just printed 4 pages to 1 sheet so that they get this really like tiny, cute, small size. And I'm just thinking, what if we take this piece I mean, in the Abandoned Walls printable, there are of course more pages than 4, yeah? Perhaps that was a little bit confusing. That is a whole set. But you can see every page in the preview in my Etsy shop, so if you want to check that out, as I said, the link is down below in the description box. I really like these tiny flowers peeking out here, just like this, and this color combination is just cool. I have an idea. Let's try something. Let's take this. And I'm cutting this down now with a tiny little frame, just like so, and the same here. And now let's try to make some slots in here so that we can put the photo in there and see more of the flowers here on the bottom. But how to do that, I have to think about that for a second. Haha! The solution for this problem is easier than I thought. Why don't we take this? I mean, how to know where to punch? I want to have something that looks like, you know, those old vintage photo frames in those photo albums. That is nearly perfect because it's not centered. That is great, but how to get the position for the other one here? Oh no. I have no idea if this will work, but let's see. Oh, okay, so this slot is too small or the photo is too big, meaning we cut off a tiny bit from the top. Haha. That looks better, and a tiny bit from the left. Whew. My goodness. Yep, that is just perfect. Haha. And I think it looks really weird when this edge is so straight here. That looks really weird. Let's try it the other way around. Yep, that's the solution. And I've also went around this layer from the Abandoned Walls printable with a running stitch so that this gets a little bit more interest there as well. And now we can decide, do we want to glue this down, or we could even turn this into a pocket so that we later on can put something in here as well. Before I decide that, I want to decide for a quote because because oh, I have see the world. Ah, that is good. I mean, see the world is travel themed in some way. See the world with different eyes fits to this coffee cup really well, because this is not only a coffee cup anymore, but it's a painting in a coffee cup. There are trees and, you know, buildings and hills and so on. Originally, I thought that I want to place this to the left to the left edge here, so that it is not in the middle. But if I look at the proportion of this quote, it fits perfectly here if I center it here. And that's cool, isn't it? So, but that means that this has to be in the center as well. Otherwise, it would look totally strange. But it can't be centered because, I mean, the photo can't be centered because it's not centered on this piece. Yeah, this is bigger than this, wider than this. But haha. If I line it up here on the right, I like those moments. If I line it here up with the right side, then the photo is by coincidence nearly centered. Look, that is cool. That is really cool. So the quote goes here, then this thing can go here, either as a pocket or we can just glue it down later. That was easy. Okay, so what else do we have laying around here? As I said, I want to use things that I have laying around here on my desk, and I have some of these wildflower stamps by Zizix and Tim Holtz laying around here because I haven't used them all for the project, you know, I have cut them out for. And I am just thinking it would be just amazing to put perhaps this here. And I want to also put one of the other flowers behind here somehow. But I think, first of all, I will sew this down so that this gets a pocket, and then we can glue the other things without any problems. Or we could also first glue this little guy here. That would make more sense. Then we can see how high the pocket has to be. Oh, do you know those things that can make you freak out just 1 second before you have finished a project? Oh, my sewing machine was not willing to sew, but as you can see, I've managed it. And now I have just sewn along here, here, and here, so that we have a pocket here now. And I've just taken the bill from the hotel to demonstrate that you can, of course, now put something in here. Just, for example, like this. And yeah, I don't want to use this here now because this is the original bill. I will make a copy of that because I will have the same problem here with the paper, with the thermal paper. So I will make a copy of that, and then later on I will put that in there. But let's first decide about the really important things, and that's where these flowers can go. Perhaps this one like so. I'm just thinking what I also could do is I could try. I'm just remembering that I have 2 smaller tags in my box here, which I had cut from a postcard. Both of these. Perhaps you remember these if you have followed this series here. And I'm just thinking if I can use the back to glue my bill on, because then if I put that there, it looks not so naked anymore. And I think these colors fit perfectly to this. And let's perhaps also take something that we can put in here in this hole of the tag. That should be something white as well, I would say. Or, ooh, oh, I have this sari silk. Ah, perfect color. Let's use that. Shall we add some white splatters? I think I want to have some white splatters. I think that looks really nice. I like it. I really like it. Okay, so I think that's it. I just want to show you a variation of this idea, which I have done in the German video. I have had exactly the same, yeah, it was the same idea, but it came out really different. Even if I had used exactly the same things. Yeah, this is also a masterboard made with the receipts, but I have done this thing with the photo a little bit differently. The quote is somewhere else, and I've also added this little cluster here additionally, because here, yeah, this frame is like a totally different concept than this one here. But that's what's happening if you use the things that you have laying around on your desk. So you can have the same idea, different materials, and a different outcome, but I can't say which one I like better. Perhaps this one, a tiny little bit. But that doesn't matter. I think they are both really beautiful. And of course, I'm hoping that you like this idea. And I hope we will see the next time with another creative idea. Have a very great day. See you.